Hello everyone. In the following lessons, we'll be talking about JavaScript and how it relates to a web page. We'll also be using it to validate a form like the one we created in the previous lesson. First, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a full-featured programming language that's used to add interactivity to web pages. So far, in the previous videos, we've seen HTML, which is used to define the structure of a web page. We've learned CSS, which is used to define the style of the different HTML elements. And now we're going to delve into JavaScript, which defines the interactive elements that we want to use on the website. More precisely, it allows to update the page's contents and appearance in real time. Since this series is directed to beginners with no experience in programming, here's more about what we mean by a programming language. A programming language allows to give instructions to the computer using some structures, i.e., conditions and loops. A condition evaluates the situation and sends the right instruction accordingly. For example, we can have a condition that verifies the time of the day. If it's less than 12, we create a message that says good morning. Otherwise, we make it good afternoon. Such a condition would look something like this. Please note that this code is incomplete for now and is only meant as a simple example. We'll be completing it and making it functional shortly. First, let's break down this code. In an HTML file, the JavaScript code is contained between an opening and closing script tag. The first line of code is the condition itself. It starts with the keyword if. We then use a set of parentheses to contain the condition we want to verify. Here the condition is hour less than 12. You can use different operators like less or equal, greater or equal, greater, equals, or not equals. Then we have a set of brackets that contains the instruction or instructions. In this case, we make the message equal to good morning. Note that in JavaScript, an instruction ends with a semicolon. After the closing bracket, we use the keyword else to indicate what should be done if the condition is false, i.e., if the hour of the day is not less than 12. We open another set of brackets and we make the message equal to good afternoon. In this example, hour and message are what we call variables. A variable is a space in the computer's memory that can contain a value. Before we can use a variable, we need to declare it. In other words, create it. This is done before the condition by typing var hour equals 8, var message equals empty quotation marks. What we're doing here is to introduce our variables to the program and giving them initial values. When the condition kicks in, hour will be equal to 8, i.e. less than 12. So the message will take the value good morning. To try out this code, all we need to do is to display the message to the user. We can do this by using the alert instruction. Alert simply opens a window that displays some text. Now you can see that we're getting a message saying good morning. Alert is what we call a function. After a function, we have a set of parentheses that gives information to the function. This information is called a parameter or a set of parameters. In this example, we're only using one parameter, which is our message variable. To give an example, let's feed some text to the alert. Let's type, "Hi, how are you?" Now you can see that the box contains the text we just entered. Let's go back using Ctrl Z and use the message as a parameter. Please note that JavaScript allows us to create our own functions and to use them in the same way. We'll be doing this later in the series. Currently the program is functional, however the time is always set to 8 o'clock, so to make it more useful, we'll be using the computer's clock to define the current time. First, let's create another variable which will contain the computer's date. var date equals new date. New date basically creates a date object which contains the current date and time. Since we want only the hour and not the complete date, we'll extract the hour from the date variable and put it into the hour variable that we created earlier. We do this as follows. Hour equals date dot get hours. As we mentioned, date here is an object. In programming, this means it contains variables and functions. By typing date.getHours, we're calling the getHours function that's contained in the date object. The result of this function is a number between 0 and 23. This number then goes into the hour variable. If we run our page again, we can see that the message is now good afternoon because the current time is greater than 12. This message will be different depending on what time of the day we open the web page. We've just used a conditional structure using if and else. Let's now give a quick example of the other structure we mentioned earlier, i.e. loops. There are different types of loops in JavaScript, but all of them serve the same purpose, which is to run some code repeatedly. One type of loop is the do-while loop. The syntax is as follows. On the first line, we declare a variable that we called counter and set it to 0. Then we start the loop using the do keyword and open the brackets. Inside of the loop, we simply use an alert and we increment the counter. The while keyword is followed by a condition, and as long as this condition is fulfilled, the code keeps running. The result is that we get 3 message boxes, one after the other. This might be a little abstract for now, but later we'll see some real-life applications. That's it for the introduction to JavaScript. In the next lesson, we'll start modifying the contents of the page using JavaScript, which will allow us to display messages directly on the page as opposed to opening message boxes. Thanks for listening and see you next time.